Hello, what nuts, Humpty Dump Nuts, and Edmonton Top Nuts. It is Thursday, June 20th in the United States. It's noon ET 10 Mountain Time. We're a Mountain Time show because we are What Chaos, presented by Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. My name is DJ Bean, absolutely mothering in this Bob Stauffer custom one-of-one t-shirt. Peter Blackburn sits there wearing a shirt that says Definitive. It's a brewery. And over there is Sean DePaz wearing a Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
That is super disrespectful to me, not because it is not a Backstreet Boys t-shirt, it's an Outkast t-shirt, but because I am a NSYNC guy until the day I die.
Tough week to be an NSYNC guy.
Yeah.
You're pro drunk driving?
For those who didn't see, Sean went like this. Sean, put your camera on and do that again.
No.
Sean, pro drunk driving. Got it.
Just, since when is drunk driving like
A crime?
No, like
For a while now.
At least 5 years.
a thing that makes you not likable in Hollywood anymore.
Name one celebrity with a DUI
who has come back from that.
Yeah, the cancel culture gets you hard.
The
for
saddest
that.
part about the NSYNC thing, or about the Justin Timberlake thing, was that the cop didn't know who he was, which made me feel
that is like that's like when the baseball player got banned from baseball for betting, and we found out how bad he was at betting. That was the more embarrassing part of that.
Mm-hmm.
The more embarrassing part of Justin Timberlake getting arrested was the cop being like, "You're washed, bro."
There's got to be there can't be like the emotional roller coaster where it's all just downhill, where you're like, fuck, I just got arrested and I'm definitely drunk. But maybe this guy will know who I am. Oh, he doesn't know who I am. So not only am I going to jail, but also I'm fucking washed.
He tried to pull this is going to ruin the tour card. And the guy was like, what the fuck are you talking about? What tour?
I did see back-to-back tweets yesterday. One was like, I hate that everybody sees DWI and assumes that Justin Timberlake was drunk. He could have been intoxicated by so many things: a feeling, an aroma, a vibe. And then the next tweet after was from like a news account that was like, in Justin Timberlake's system were Molly, alcohol.
That was a fake tweet.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, that one was like that was Pooh Crave tweeted.
Well, no,
it.
I know it was a fake. It was a joke to say that he was drunk on or that he was intoxicated by a vibe. Sean, if I had to bet my entire life on you having an allegiance to one early 2000s boy band, I would say yes, I will do it. I will take that risk. And Sean is an NSYNC guy.
NSYNC was my first ever concert. I've said that before.
Oh, maybe that's why. Maybe like deep down,
NSYNC, Britney Spears, first ever concert.
Yeah. You strike me as an NSYNC guy. We've got a loaded show because the series back in Edmonton. I hate that I'm not there, but whatever. We've got a lot of folks who are in Edmonton who will join us today. Bob Stauffer, the great Bob, will join us in just a few minutes. We've also got Emily Kaplan from ESPN will make her What Chaos debut.
Somehow it took this long.
Haven't invited her. That's how it took so long.
That is how we kind of found ourselves in the Jack Michaels situation. We were like, how has it been this long? He's like, you just didn't invite me.
Yeah, he was like, DJ is the best kind of millennial. Man, chat's going crazy, saying I'm mothering.
Can somebody be your white whale, like white whale of a guest, if you just don't invite him? Because that's what we said to Jack Michaels. It was like, you're like kind of our white whale guest. And he was like, no, you've never invited me.
I had I don't know if I tagged him in it or whatever, but I for sure tweeted at some point, like, one day Jack's going to be on the podcast. I did that today. Somebody asked, they were like, whoa, you got Bob Stauffer? I was like, does the day end in Y?
Third time, yeah.
We're like, Bob Stauffer has two shows.
Yeah,
Oilers Now And what chaos.
He has 3 shows. He has Oilers Broadcast, best show on TV,
Best show on TV.
Oilers Now, and this show.
You know who I would love to get? Dude, you haven't seen it, and I can't find it anywhere. Maybe you got to be a paying customer to see it, and if so, it's worth the price of admission. The Oilers intro video, you would think that it would be some crazy stuff with dragons and all AI. I don't know if you've been to like a Canadians playoff game, like they do this crazy shit on the ice or whatever. Oilers are like, our intro is, we have Oilers fans here. Mm-hmm. That's going to be better than any of your intros, okay? They're going to make a bunch of noise. We are then going to play a clip of Tony Brar with some Oilers clips spliced in, being like, folks, welcome to the motherfucking Stanley Cup Final. And it is incredible. Tony looks as clean as he always does. I say
handsome.
Clean and endearing because those lines on that beard,
That man
I could
manscapes.
fucking never. That man, I guarantee you, takes a straight razor in his fingers, doesn't put it on one of the fucking things, just gets it like that, takes the fucking risk, and gets, it is the cleanest lines in the world.
Did you meet him in
Unbelievable
Edmonton?
posture. I can't remember if I saw him.
You would remember because he is like the
most
magnetic personality
But
you've ever come
he
across.
said, like, can't wait to see you. And I said, I'll do you one better. I'm going to hug you the second I see you. But I don't remember hugging him, so I must not have seen him. But, man, Tony Brar, incredible. Oilers intro, incredible. As the series is now back in Rodgers Place. I want to ask Emily. We could ask Bob this too. But just, like, the difference between the two places. I saw Mike Grinnell talking about, like, man, he was kind of slandering Florida, quite frankly.
Well, that's the only thing is, like, I don't want to get into that discussion too much because it's setting Florida up for massive failure.
It's not somebody else's fault that they're not Edmonton.
Right.
It's not even, I'll tell you what.
And it'll just come off as like us kicking like Florida, who already has a reputation of not being a great hockey market, in which I think that's been proved false over the past few years. They've just been waiting to have a good team, and it took forever. I just don't want to like market shame. It's impossible for like 31 other franchises to live up to what Edmonton has become in this playoff run, which is a monster.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and there are a lot of, like, I'll include Boston in this group, but there are a lot of American and Canadian buildings that fall under the, like, this is one of a kind, like, energy kind of feeling. And I don't know, you want to do the decibel meter or whatever, but just like the combination of what the fans are like, how loud the music being played is. There's a million different ways you can mix and match the vibe, the team, the city. But I don't want to put down Florida for not being Edmonton, because I don't know how many teams in the NHL right now could replicate the energy that Oilers fans are giving. But I will say, they shouldn't have wanted to go back to Edmonton, kept saying it. You don't want Bob to go back on the road when he stinks on the road in the Stanley Cup Final.
Bob Brovsky, not Bob Stauffer.
Bob Stauffer
on the
kills
road
it no matter where he goes.
it.
But the Panthers, you could say, are starting to feel the heat because Paul Maurice fucking with his lineup.
Ooh, I
Practice
missed this
today. Did you really?
Yeah.
No, you didn't. We had a conversation about it.
Oh, I did not miss this. You're right. Yep, I was privy to this conversation.
I liked your energy when you thought that this was a surprise, so I'm going to reset that.
Okay.
To be just as surprised. Be like, are you fucking kidding? All right. The Panthers starting to feel the heat, and if you don't believe me, ask Paul Maurice, because the proof's in the pudding. Their practice, they were doing all sorts of fuckery.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Pete is batting 1,000 today.
The way you set that up was crazy.
What?
Like you didn't really like throw. You didn't.
I heightened it a little more.
I guess.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
All right, third time. Panthers might be feeling the heat. Paul Maurice, I think we always see him as such a cool customer in press conferences. I think he's losing his cool because from their practice lines today, maybe he's changing shit more than we thought he ever would.
What?
Yeah, dude. Fourth line, Stenlund between Lomberg and Cousins. Now say, well, then where's Kyle Oposo?
Well, then where's Kyle Oposo?
Probably the press box.
Where'd he go?
Probably the press box or the penalty box.
Penalty box,
He's always in one of those two
yes.
places. But maybe he's saying, hey, since you like sit in the box so much, why don't you go to level 8? That's right. I know the Rodgers Arena like the back of or Rodgers Place, like the back of my hand.
Ouch.
Love. Oof.
We'll edit that.
Put some Canadian money in the Canadian money jar. They don't have Venmo in Canada. Crazy to me. Kyle Poso out of the lineup. Sean, you have to support it.
Oh yeah, of course I do, because I want the 5th round pick, and Kyle Poso is not a good player.
Good point.
I don't like not a good player.
I mean, he's not a great player.
He's not
we
a
can
good
be
player
honest.
at this point in his
And
career.
Says the
parade
guy
in the
who's
penalty
not
box.
in the NHL.
Also not a good player. Takes one to know one.
There you go.
I love Kyle Poso.
I love Kyle
All
Poso.
respect,
Kyle Poso is a good dude in the room. I think that he all the Florida Panthers guys speak very highly of him, and even Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel, who hated his time in Buffalo more than anything. We all know this. Loves Kyle Poso.
That to me is why, and we've all heard things about Jack Eichel's attitude or whatever. I think he's a pretty. I've always he's always struck me as a fine enough guy. But with all that's been said and ascribed to Jack Eichel, the fact that Kyle Poso really liked him made me think, like, you know what? We might overstate the Jack Eichel asshole stuff.
Is Jack Eichel misunderstood?
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, the asshole stink has attached itself to the Buffalo Sabres long after Jack Eichel has left town.
Mm-hmm.
Not like asshole personality-wise, but they operate like assholes.
Can I ask this?
I don't think that's fair. I think
you wouldn't say the Buffalo Sabres play like assholes?
Oh,
Sean.
okay. Play. I thought you meant more like how the organization operates, because I feel
No.
Yeah.
I think
They're
that-
about to buy out
play
Jeff
like-
Skinner.
that
Play
operation
like
is
assholes.
like a family. It has a family vibe to it.
Yeah.
I think that all the guys like each other,
But they play like
they have
assholes. I
not grown
agree.
up as a team.
No, that's fair.
How do you feel about the Panthers changing up their lineup, even if it is just a 4th line tweak? This to me does give a little, I don't know, uncertainty. However, if I were a Panthers fan, I would love it.
Yeah, I like it.
loved it just because I love getting Nick Cousins in the lineup.
Well, yeah, I mean that adding that element to the series, which has already become Panthers were dicks.
Yes, if you're going to be a bear, be a gorilla.
Yeah,
If you're going to be a dick, be
Girthmaster.
Be Girthmaster. I was going to say Barry Keoghan because famously he's got that thing on him.
That's true. But I
We
think
talked about this, Sean,
Girthmaster-
right? Was this on the show or off the show?
I don't remember.
We were talking about
I
Sabrina
remember talking about it,
Carpenter,
but I don't
and then
remember if it was
somebody
on the
mentioned
show.
that she's been stooping Barry Keoghan,
Mhm.
and then we began talking about Barry Keoghan's
I think it was
penis,
on the
if
show
memory
because
serves.
we were talking about how raunchy her lyrics get, and I'm like, it's funny to me that she's talking about Barry at the end of the day.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's what
I think
happened.
that was on the show.
I like for the entertainment purposes and the purposes of this series getting a little nasty.
Yeah.
I like Nick Cousins being in there, and also I think it makes sense for Florida because Oposo's not been all that effective, taking too many penalties.
It is funny, though, to say we got to stay out of the box. Let's get Nick Cousins in the lineup. What could possibly go wrong? That guy's not although
He's more willing to drag the Oilers into his shit, though.
yes. Well, and he's also more willing to take a matching penalty because he draws a penalty and then they say, buddy, you got to go too.
Yeah.
What was that? Let's bring in the great Bob Stauffer. Oilers Now. Also the Oilers broadcast. Also What Chaos. Are you like a regular guest now at this point? If so, very unfair to the world, but great for us.
You know, if I am a regular guest, I got to talk to you guys. What was the old joke about? I know Muhammad Ali once did Brian Hall's show and said, I love doing your show once a year, Mr. Hall, but the pay's crap. So,
Honestly, we famously didn't have a send DJ to Edmonton budget, but DJ still went to Edmonton. If we have to go out of pocket, we will.
It's called a trade, man. We put you on our show. I come and do your show. It's a trade. That's how business is done.
It was so amazing going on your show. It was amazing when you had Pete on. Listening to him on there with you was amazing, and you're just the best. It was so great to hang in Edmonton as well. Man, what a dream this series has been.
This season has just been spectacular. Like, it's just, and it was great seeing you here, DJ, and Pete, we would have loved to have had you. And, we later that night, DJ, as we were leaving, another guy with a prominent podcast out there made an appearance at the same establishment. I think there were a lot of people making a lot of appearances at a lot of establishments that night, so that was a good thing. And if you think it was lit when you were here, DJ, wait till you see what it's going to be like tomorrow night at Edmonton. It's an unofficial holiday here in Edmonton. Let's let it rip. Let's see what the boys can bring. And man, I'm sitting here in the downtown community arena, which they put the ice back in for the practice day because we have Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is at Rodgers Place tonight. I am not up in the 8th floor for the Snoop Dogg concert, which is where we broadcast the games from because, well, you can well imagine that that's got a very unique crowd to it for Snoop Dogg. And it would remind me of my days that I spent tree planting in some of the fine northern BC and northern Alberta locations such as Chetwynd, BC, which is where a young player from the Medicine Hat Tigers is from the upcoming NHL draft. If you think there's places in mass that are out of the way, you've never been in northeastern BC and northwestern Alberta. It's a different world up there. So we're looking forward to having a great time. It's going to be a kicker. It's great to see you guys here. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
Oh man, I just checked Snoop Dogg's tour dates. I was wondering if he would be in the building tomorrow night. Stick around because he's a big hockey guy. He will be in Calgary, Alberta tomorrow night, so will not be in the building. I do have to ask you about the photo of you that was tweeted out by the Oilers. An incredibly sexual photo of you boarding the plane. What was your reaction? What was the general reaction to that photo on Twitter yesterday?
Well, first of all, the photographer did a great job because it's hard to get all three chins going at the same time. That takes a lot of work. You know, here's the deal, guys. There comes a point when you do this where you just got to roll with it. You both have a sense of humor, and I admit when you guys and you did talk about it on one of your podcasts when I was on one day about the first time you guys said, hey, we really like your work. And anytime I get somebody that's a lot younger and a lot more talented than I was at that age telling me that, I'm always wondering, am I getting set up here? Is this in Canada? We call him RCMP Mr. Big Stings. That's actually, I've got a friend. He's now a retired RCMP. He does some work for us. And he worked on the most infamous case in Canadian history. But I thought, you always worry about guys setting you up. But there comes a point where you just have to roll with it. You just have to accept it. You have to have fun with it. The best people have recognition that, you know what, self-deprecation works at the best of times. You can belittle yourself and people, they get it. They understand it. So, I don't look like I did when I was 25. We did get legal approval to put that photo on. I'm just kidding. They at least asked, and the funny part is I couldn't get internet on our plane flying back, so I didn't know. Yesterday we had to refuel in Kansas City coming back from Fort Lauderdale, and I landed in Fort Lauderdale or in Kansas City, and there's all of my cell phone's going off, and this is I'm checking Twitter, and there's 225 retweets of something. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? That I realized, and then a couple of players came up. And they had some fun because, I had the infamous skate in Seattle and the boys had they needed that. We were 2-9-1 at that point, and the guys needed some laughter. And I don't mind. And I will tell you, one of my lines is with the guys. And let me give some advice to you. Like I'll talk to Ryan McLeod. Ryan, you played in the OHL, and when I grew up, I thought I was pretty good, but I lacked the speed, talent, agility, coordination, toughness, character, and discipline to play in the Western Hockey League, let alone the NHL. So here's where in other words, what I'm saying to him is, I know how good you are and how good you've had to be just to get to the level you're at. And I think the guys know that I'm willing to poke some fun at myself. So it was good. It was, we've talked far too, but let's get on to the series. But it was anytime people have a thing in Edmonton about my appearance. My eyes aren't super bright on TV when I'm on those Rodgers shows that you guys love. Like you guys stoke the fire. You've made us to be at one of the best regional, and I'm a very small part of that in the intermissions, but one of the best regional TV packages in the league. I just roll with it now. I haven't got upset about that stuff for at least 15 years. Just have fun, man. Like we work in the toy department of life. There's enough real crap going on out in the world on a daily basis without just we're covering sports, and I got to cover, I think, the greatest player that's ever played, the most advanced player of all time. So privileged to do so. So have some fun when stuff like that comes across your way.
So I'm blown away by your modesty. It's very admirable and it's very incredible. It literally,
it's complete BS. Just so you know.
But I say incredible because I'm not sure. I'm like, do you not understand though the appeal that you have? That you exude this power and this. It's an overused term, but like you've got a swagger about you that people. That everybody is drawn to. So when we see that picture and every one of our followers sends to us, great, now I'm pregnant, that's not a fucking joke. They may not literally be pregnant, but they see that picture and they do say, damn.
Not bad for 58, with the exception of the 3 kids. Obviously, some quality hair product. Was it Matt Martin that was making fun of Henrik Zetterberg? Go dye your hair. Anyhow, I can tell you I don't have that much swag because my wife and kids are in West Vancouver right now, and they've been there since April. So, and don't worry, we're still technically married. So it's just, like I don't think I've ever, the old saying, right? Are either of you married yet, by the way?
To each other?
No. I mean,
pretty much.
I don't mean to pry, but I'm going to give you some older uncle-like advice here. Just remember that when you do end up, having that relationship, that your significant other. My dad gave me simple rules, and he just said, "Bob, here's how it works. Allow your wife to make all the small decisions, and understand as a man there are no big decisions." So, so when you're sitting there talking about swag and how I just laugh because it's like, I don't even have control of the TV and the remote control of 2 of the 3 houses or 2 of the 3 televisions in my house when my family's actually in the same city as me. So you just got to have some fun with it.
And he's a progressive king. God damn. You're so perfect, man. But you mentioned how crazy it's going to be tomorrow. I can't fathom it. And Game 4 was one of the most electric atmospheres I've ever seen. Even the third period of Game 3, when the Oilers started to really come back into that game, it was madness. You've seen everything in Edmonton. Do you even have an idea of what it will be like?
Yes, I do. And I'll tell you why. I grew up and watched the most exciting team ever. Not only could they score, they could fight. Like they had a tough, and I come from that generation. Do something, score, and if you don't score, make sure you're willing to drop the flippers. And the Oilers had, as one of the top 3 tough teams in the league throughout the 1980s, but they were also the most exciting team to watch. And I think, I'll read. You guys are the guys that say this all the time. I think the Oilers are the most exciting team in the league to watch. But because my generation of guys, let's say 50 plus, we maybe took it for granted when we had Gretzky and Messier and Anderson and Curry and Coffey and Fuhr and Kevin Lowe here. We maybe took it a little bit for granted. Well, we're not taking it for granted right now, okay? We know how damn lucky we are. Then we have the 06 crew that fell in love, on that 06 run. But they realized that team didn't have long-term sustainability, especially once Pronger, requested the trade. And it was known internally in the circles, before the conclusion of the Stanley Cup Final that was coming. This team, I think the fans know they've been building for a couple of years. They know how great McDavid is, albeit he's taken it to another level in the final couple of games. And then they also realize that we're probably going to be here for we're going to have a window here. So enjoy every moment of it. That's what I'm saying. And you know what? They are enjoying every moment. And, guys, we're hamstrung here. The pandemic kicked the snot out of things, and there was a lot of conditions play, and I'm sensing that people just want to go out and experience joy. And that's, DJ, that's what you were a part of on Saturday night in Edmonton. And frankly, Game 6 against Dallas, it was the same thing. The city was, after the Oilers advanced to the Stanley Cup Final that night, it was rocking. And they helped push the Oilers over the finish line in that game against Dallas because Dallas completely outplayed them. So, hey, tomorrow night, Florida could come up. They're a great road team like Dallas. They could get the result they're looking for. But the Oilers fans are going to do their part, and you're damn right they know how lucky they are to be a part of this again.
I know I'm hogging the mic here, so I'll let Pete ask like 40 questions in a row after this. Connor McDavid saying we're going to go to Florida. This was I think people forget that this was right after the game, after Game 4.
Yeah.
He's sweating. He's got this massive beard, sitting next to Leon Draisaitl, and says, "We're going to go to Florida. We're going to do a job, and we're going to drag him back to Edmonton." That has felt like such a rallying cry and such a signature moment for Connor McDavid. For a lot of us, did it feel that way to you? Because we're still talking about it. And if this thing plays out the way a lot of us want it to play out, this will be something we talk about forever.
Yeah, he didn't call a shot. Like, he didn't say, I'm going to – and you know what? Even Mark Messier would debate whether or not, we will win. There was – John Delapino, who works for the league now, sort of said, I was in on that scrub. There was only like 5 guys. Think of the difference. And that was an Eastern Conference final. 5 guys were there for the morning skate when Messi allegedly said this. And think of how many people were here, DJ, after the game and Game 4. I mean, people were going, there was 200 people in the media room after. But it could be an important moment, but the Oilers have got to do their part. And they got to win the next game. The one thing I'll say, guys, the team has taken on the personality of the coach. The coach is prepared, and the coach is chill. And the team does, to this point, hasn't panicked a lot under pressure, and they've been really resilient.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you think the reasoning or the driving force behind the team's success when they do find themselves in hot water? Because that's kind of been the story of this team all year long, is that they seem to get themselves into some shit. They stay calm. And, even Zach Hyman being mic'd up in the locker room was like, hey, we've had this unshakable belief in our group all year long. Let's just stick to it. Like, what's the driving force behind that? Is it Knobloch? Is it the entire group? What is it?
Pete, it's a great question. I mean, I joke often with Jack Michaels, the Oilers at times don't deal with prosperity well. They seem to need the adversity to be there. And I think it's, I think the team's taken on a bit of the tenor of the coach. They're not sitting there yipping at officials and complaining. They just go about. But I also think when you've gone through what they've gone through, the 2-9-1 start and everybody, and for the fans who've got, the fans play a part, but they can't directly influence it. It's been hard because then they got all the fans from the other fan bases. Oh, you're going to lose McDavid. Oh, you're going to lose Draisaitl. Yada yada yada. With teams 2-9-1 or 5-12-1, but they have been able to come out of swoons very well. You guys know the numbers. They lost 3 games in a row under Knobloch, then they won 8 straight. Then they lost 3 games in a row under Knobloch and won 16 straight. Another time they lost 3 games, including an overtime game, ended up winning 5 straight. So they can put together good runs. I think the group knows that. And what a story it would be. And again, they're going to beat a real good team. Florida's a rock solid team. And saying that, there's guys in Edmonton that have to elevate. And if you're Paul Maurice right now, damn well there's guys in Florida that got to play better too.
We've done a lot of talk about the goaltending in this series and sort of how a lot of people underestimate Stu Skinner and how he gets better as series go along. And we've kind of seen the shifts start to take place. I want to ask you, do you think that the Oilers have the edge in goaltending as this series goes along?
I mean, how do you have the edge when the other guy's won 2 Vezinas and is up for a 3rd? He's a good goalie. To me, and I think the analytics would support it, the one thing about Bobrovsky is I think he can beat him to the right side. And it makes me, I don't know if he's got, he sort of tries to get you to shoot to his glove side, and he's got great reflexes and great lateral movement. But the Oilers have found some holes. And even on the play where Nugent Hopkins was stopped in the 3rd period after Kulak made a great rush up the right side, flipped it across, and Ryan had a breakaway. He tried to beat him to Heidel blocker side to his right side. Skinner has to, I know about this about Stewart. Stewart's going to keep grinding, and he's going to keep working, and he's still only 25. He has continuously improved. The numbers are way better games 4 through 7, but I also think that's a reflection. I think Chris, as the coach, and the coaching staff collectively have figured some things out, and the team has figured some things out. And frankly, they've shown that they're resilient, and it helps when you have a guy that is literally playing like a man possessed, like 97 is. It's just, we're seeing a player at the height of his power. So here we are talking about goaltending, but I just think it's a combination of factors. I don't think it's solely Stewart, but I'm here to tell you Stewart's going to get better. He's going to improve his puck handling in time, and he's going to get a better glove hand. I'm telling you that's going to happen because I've seen how hard this guy has worked every step of the way. He willed himself up from the ECHL. I know a lot of goalies end up in the coast their first year coming out of junior or out of college, but I know the work rate. And guys that work and grind, they can make things happen in every walk of life.
The guess in this room from admittedly three silly boys is that once this postseason ends and we find out all the injuries, our respect for Leon Draisaitl will go up immensely. That said, there's still 2 games left, and
yes,
as he is in this goalless drought, I want to say he has 1 goal in his last 10 games, which, as we all know, is extremely un-Draisaitl-like. Do you think, given what he's been able to play through before, there is a chance that whether it's game 6 or a potential game 7, he can find some sort of Papa Bear dad strength where he overcomes whatever is ailing him, and he has a game like we've seen Connor McDavid have?
I think it is possible. I do think he's hurting. It wouldn't surprise me if, like, a lot, and the first thing he'd say is everybody's got something. I'm going to circle back to what I said about Bobrovsky. Like, look at where Leon lines up. He lines up in the right hash marks on the power play in his kill zone, and that means that Bobrovsky opens up to Bobrovsky's glove side left. That's, to me, that's Bobrovsky's more dominant side, and I think that's offset. That's kind of like I think the opportunities for Edmonton when they're coming off the flanks on the power play on Nugent Hopkins when he's on the left side against Bobrovsky's right blocker. So that's something to look forward to. And I think it's played a little because Leon's missed a couple. Bobrovsky's made 2 brilliant saves in the series against the Oilers' power play when Draisaitl's been in the kill zone. Those might have been in against other goaltenders, but that plays right into Bob's strength. So can he have one of those games? Yes, he can. Does it help when he's got Nugent Hopkins 5-on-5 with him? Yes, and that's also made a guy like Warren Fogle useful playing on that line, just getting in there with the speed and crashing and banging for McDavid because Warren can go get loose pucks and help chip pucks to spots and make plays. Fogle's eaten 2 hits in this series that have led directly to goals for the Oilers in games 4 and 5. So can Leon pop at some point in the series? Yes. But I will say the matchup might be working a bit against them, especially on the power play.
Do you think we see Evander Kane again in this series, even if he's ready to go? Like, would Chris Knobloch mess with a thing that has kept them alive?
I look at, Pete, prior, sort of the prior history with Chris, and he doesn't overthink it when the team's winning. That's one, again, and I know I relayed the story to DJ, like, Chris, I think, won 10 or 11 straight with Kootenay, not a particularly deep Western Hockey League team the year they won the WHL title. They upset Braden Shen and Saskatoon in 4 straight that year. He had at least 8 streaks in Erie in the 4 years where he won 50-plus games. Only coach in major junior history to do it. 8 times he had streaks of, I think, 10-plus undefeated stretches. And that's because he's not – I think he doesn't overthink it. I think it's the same thing with the messaging with the players. He doesn't bombard them with 52 video clips. He shows them 4 or 5. In terms of the messaging before the game, he's not sitting there focused on all the things that the opposition does. He might maybe 1 or 2. Hey, guys, we know they're going to – like they knew they were going to – Florida was going to floor check out of the gate hard, and Edmonton was going to need to do a good job managing the puck defensively. And to be honest with you, they did a pretty good job through the first period and a half. When Florida ramped it up, halfway through the second period, it was a different game. So the Oilers got to know that's coming again. So sometimes less is more, and I think less will be more in the decision to potentially reinsert Evander Kane.
On the other side, it looks like Oposo out and Cousins in, and I mean, Oposo has helped the Oilers because he's put them on the power play a lot. But if I'm an Oilers fan, I'm afraid of the Panthers, who already have that bit of a shit to them.
Sore losers.
That they say, you know what, like, let's bring in someone who's going to mix it up a little more. Does this help or hurt Edmonton to play against a team that is now getting increasingly desperate and probably getting even scrappier?
I think that, frankly, Nick Cousins is part of the identity of what Florida's been all year long, right? Like, the The Oilers just played a series against Dallas where Peter DeBoer talked before the series started. We don't take penalties, and we play within the whistles. And Dallas played within the whistles. And, in game number 1, the Oilers were shorthanded 5 times, including McDavid twice, with the double minor and overtime, and the Oilers survived that. And conversely, Edmonton only got 1 power play. Well, now they're playing against a team that does play beyond the whistles. DJ, you were in the building for game 4 when they called Bennett and Tkachuk for both punching Oilers in the head and made it a 5-on-3. I was shocked that they game managed that the way they did. Usually they even that maybe it's a 5-on-4. I was stunned they made it a 5-on-3, and frankly, I like the fact that the officials handled that the way they did because it was the right call. I'm not like, does Cousins give him? I mean, maybe he gives him a little bit of jump when he draws in. He plays like 11 minutes a game max, right? So, and in Oposo's case, good veteran, might be at the end of the line here. We'll see. We'll see what I think for Florida. They need their best guys to be better, and some of Edmonton's best guys need to be better as well. And that's good. That's the beauty of it. You're playing against a good team. Not everybody's going to ace everybody else. You got quality opponents there. So I don't think it's a big deal that Cousins is coming in for Oposo, to be frank with you.
Last thing I'll ask, because we've also got CJ on the show a little later, as all these moves are happening, I was going crazy between games 3 and 4. All the NHL people wanted to talk about were who's getting traded where, what's happening. They were doing like off-season stuff, and I was like, guys, we're in the Cup Final. Why are we talking about all this stuff? But then teams start making moves, so I guess we do have to talk about off-season stuff. Might as well ask, what do you think happens with Draisaitl?
I think Leon ends up long-term with the Edmonton Oilers. That's my guess. I'm going to defer to Frank Saravelli, who is a plugged-in guy and reported on our show a week ago.
Not if you ask Michael Bublé.
That's right. You see, Bublé cooked his ass.
Who? Oh, Frank's?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Michael Bublé does Michael Bublé not have a son named after Elias Pettersson? Look no further than that, right? Like, if I recall, I think he named one of his kids after Pettersson.
That's amazing.
Well, there's nothing wrong. Hey, you know what? Michael Bublé is a Vancouver fan. And by the way, the Roenick thing, at the arbitration case for Roenick was very good. I would say the Canucks did decent getting him done at $7.25 million. But what was true 6 weeks ago is not necessarily true today. Like, Roenick had an unbelievable first 50 games of the year.
Yeah.
You guys watched him in playoff series against Edmonton. He didn't kill it in that series. They could have used a little bit. I mean, that was a tight series. If he's a little bit better, like the Oilers 1-7, so we give Vancouver credit. Look, I think Vancouver's a well-run team. They made 6 or 7 trades during the season. They've upgraded their roster. They've got a really passionate fan base. They had made the playoffs they hadn't had a home game for 9 years. They're headed in the right direction. Hey, if Bublé is going to come around and support the organization that he cheers for, it happens. And Frank Saravelli's got thick skin; he can handle it.
Hell yeah, he does.
I was going to say, Frank Saravelli's got thick skin, but also like he's kind of down to scrap.
Oh,
he wants to fight.
Frank
He's
will
from
mix it up
Philly,
with
man.
Bublé.
Of course he is. Like, he's from a city where they booed Santa Claus and Mike Schmidt, and not necessarily in that order.
Yeah, but you do think Draisaitl's back, which is music to my ears.
I would. Well, Frank's quote is better than a 90% chance that the Oilers retain both McDavid and Draisaitl. Where else are Connor and Leon going to get a chance to play together? There's one place. It's Edmonton. And it doesn't hurt that Broberg and Holloway are starting to gain some traction. It's a sign that they've got some other guys coming. There's no guarantee it's going to happen, but again, I would say that Edmonton's got a very compelling case to make to retain both players.
All right, what kind of case would you say they have to force a Game 7 here?
They got to win Game 6.
They've got to, or you say they're going to?
That's the sort of analysis you guys came for. They got to win Game 6.
Why they pay you the big bucks.
So in order to get to Game 7, they've got. All right, I'm seeing. I'm not as good with math as you, but
here's what they got to do. Okay, if I'm the Panthers, I'm hard pressed for checking. The Oilers have got to do a good job in terms of managing the puck defensively, not panic. They got to use the middle of the ice because that's open and available. Good teams use the middle of the ice when they play zone defense. The team you guys get to watch, and that's with Monty, they play a more aggressive zone than what Cassidy had when he was there. Cassidy in Vegas, a little bit more passive zone, but he's also got he's got a bigger shot blocking type of mentality with his defense. So I think Edmonton's got to do a good job handling the forechecking pressure of Florida. They've got to manage pucks well. Okay, they got to use the middle of the ice in the transition. And right now, the Oilers have got an X factor that the Panthers don't have, and that's 97. He's just supersonic gin and tonic right now. Like, he's just simply put, on another level. So we'll see what happens. I know everybody that's around the Oilers got a healthy amount of respect for how good Florida is, but their path to success starts in their own zone and how they handle the Panthers forecheck.
Bob, if this goes 7, we are going to fly to Florida. The second Game 6 ends and just wait at the airport to recreate the photo with you when you arrive, because we will be so excited for a Game 7 and to hang with you in Florida. How's that sound?
Well, there are moments that it can be a good time. That's all I'm going to tell you, and I'm looking forward to it. It was great seeing you in Edmonton last week. Pete, thank you for having me on the show again. And anytime you guys are stuck and can't get somebody better out of Edmonton, feel free to give me a call.
Oh, we love you. There's nobody better.
I don't know what we did to be so lucky, but you are really the greatest. Thank you, Bob.
Cheers, boys. See you later.
Right, talk soon. I'm not kidding when I say, like, when I got the invite to, I don't even know if I did text you guys, but I sat on it for like a day and a half, because you just never know how life works out.
Well, you don't tweet like guests until you've basically done the interview.
Right. That sort of thing. But like, when I got the invite to hang with Bob, I was like, this guy? I was wearing this shirt.
I was going to say, you're wearing a Bob Stauffer t-shirt. If he's going to invite anybody, it's probably you.
That would have been so incredible. He is the greatest. If he were any better, he would be Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It's the most fun and exciting way to get on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for a shot to win up to 100x your cash. While I'm plugging Prize Picks, I'll also plug us and say thanks to Bob for joining us. If you came for the Bob interview, smash like, smash subscribe, whatever button you could do to help us out. We love YouTube subscribers. It's free. It goes a very long way for us. And Prize Picks goes a very long way for us. When we try to, what do we try to do? We tried to 19x, but I think we went like, did we do like a 26.5x the other day?
Yeah, we did a full demon, all
X.
demons.
Yeah. Wasn't it like 30
33x?
33x, and now that was one that we didn't hit.
Yeah,
correct?
That would be a 0x.
That was one that ended up being a 0x for us. But we have, I mean, not to say that we're putting Prize Picks on the map, because Prize Picks is everywhere, but I no longer, with Prize Picks stuff, have to limit my group to Pete and Sean, because whether it's Whatnuts, people who listen to the show, or just people, the word of mouth of the experience of Prize Picks, it's such a good product. And for me personally, its layout on its website is my favorite of all of these options that are out there.
Bozo friendly, I'll call it.
Bozo friendly, yes. Very. There's not like a ton of, whenever we're doing something together, one of us is asking questions of, wait, where's this thing? You're not getting a lot of that when you're on Prize Picks. It's very easy. And if you're like, wait, where is, there was a McDavid thing you said, there's a search thing right there. You just hit McDavid and that's going to come right up. I
didn't even know that. That's great to know. I will take an opportunity to plug our Discord, because we have a Prize Picks section of our Discord. So if you want to see what everybody else is playing, maybe before Game 6, check out some lineups, head to our Discord. The link is in the description below. A lot of Prize Picks community in there.
It's as good a time as I have. There's star players, there's goblins, there's demons, all sorts of that good. So download the app today and use code WhatChaos for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code WhatChaos for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
And if you've been listening to the show, you also know we love our folks at Manscaped, especially when it's smooth sack summer, which is officially upon us. So if you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed from your pubes to your bum. Thanks to our friends at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide, including the 3 of us. We are proud Manscaped users. We love their items. We love the waterproof lawnmower 5.0. Got some LED lights, wireless charging.
The flashlight and the wireless charging.
That's right. Sean doesn't even shave with it. He just uses it as a flashlight and charges it for fun.
Manscaped is a tech company.
That's right.
True.
They're the Dominoes of,
Of men's grooming.
of that stuff.
We got an exclusive offer for our listeners. Get 20% off and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use code WhatChaos. Again, that's 20% off and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use code WhatChaos. Summertime and the trimming's easy.
Well, they say that Domino's is it's a pizza company and a tech company, correct? We all knew this?
Yeah.
Our next guest is a hockey reporter and a fashion icon. It is, at long last, making her debut. Emily, I don't even know if you know about this, but Emily Kaplan from ESPN joins us. We good sound-wise? Is that on your end? Can you hear us?
Uh-oh, I can hear you. Sorry, guys. I'm doing this from a loading dock.
Oh, yeah.
Noob Dog has kicked us out of the ring.
The
We
best.
did hear that, yes.
Thank you. Settle a bet right off the bat. So the chat and our listeners posit that your outfits, which have gotten increasingly cool leading up to the final games of the season, have you staggered these various fits for if it goes 6, I've got this, or like I'm smoking them as I got them?
You guys are hitting me with the important questions off
Yes.
the bat. Boy, this is
yeah.
the journalism. It's tough. I'm not going to lie. I did not pace it well. I had my last 2 outfits I thought might be clinching outfits. I saved them for them. And I had to go shopping in Edmonton yesterday for some new fits. So what I will be wearing for Game 6 is an Edmonton exclusive. We got it at Hudson's Bay, a department store here. Support your local economy. And I think we like it.
That's
yeah.
So our chat and we are not crazy.
Yeah.
There is strategy. There's a method to the madness.
There should be a method to the madness. You should be able to plan things better than I could. I guess I just had too much faith in the Panthers, and I'm so sorry, Connor McDavid, but you forced me to go shopping in Alberta. You dragged us back here and spent our dollars here.
Do you know what I wore to? You know what I wore to Game 4 in Edmonton?
What'd you wear?
Black T-shirt, some chinos. Just another fucking day. It was going 7 all along. Did not. Granted, I wasn't doing TV, but just another day. It was always going 7.
But you do make the conscious decision to hey, I'm going to come with something really, really hard for a potential clinching situation.
Yeah, you should, right? I mean, these are the photos and videos that last forever when I'm on the ice interviewing the guys. So I went for a more classic look. Teaser, it's like a little black blazer dress. But I think it'll work. Hopefully it works. The Canadian dollar, shout out to that. I could spend a little extra money here.
Not to just be like straight up outfit stands, but I was endearingly saying, does that thing come in men's too? There was a flowery ensemble that early in the series, there was like a flowery thing, and we were doing a watch party, and when you came on to do your hit, our whole chat was like, Emily Flower Ensemble thing. So I have like a leatherish jacket thing like you were rocking the other day, but if you could pass along where the flowery ensemble came from and whether it comes in men's, might be grabbing that.
The brand is Cinque Septe. It was a turtleneck. It was kind of mesh and tight, but I'm happy to lend it to you because we believe also in recycling. So, let's not throw it out fast fashion.
Hell
You're
yes.
welcome to wear it anytime.
Stimulating the economy and saving the environment. That's huge.
I'm just here trying, guys.
Let me ask, did you think that this was going 7? Because honestly, at 3-0, I thought it was probably done. That said, 3-2 makes total sense to everybody, including Paul Maurice, who said, I got more used to a 3-2 and dealing with that than a 3-0. But did you think this was going to be a long series? Do you think that we are in this series where we should be? Or is the 3-0 and then 2 straight wins fashion of it, no pun intended, too outrageous for us to understand what's going on?
Yeah, so obviously they make us do our picks before the series. I said Panthers in 7. But I typically say 7 out of respect for both teams because I have to cover both of them. And I just wanted to A, we're trying to manifest it. And B, just, we want to make sure that we're kind to both. I felt like I had recency bias because I was on the Panthers for the Eastern Conference Final. And I watched the way that they just decimated the Rangers, especially the way that they wore them down in the third period. And I'm like, this team is unstoppable. Who could possibly beat them? But the way that the Oilers were clicking at the right time, the way that their defensive structure looked against the Stars, that Stu Skinner showed up, that they were getting the depth contributions outside of Connor McDavid. I probably should have actually believed it and believed in my own pick. But when it was up 3-0, again, with the outfit choices, I didn't think the Oilers were going to come back. And once we got to that Panthers game 5, talking to Paul Maurice before the game, kind of just sensing the vibe that there was just this little bit of nervous energy. And maybe he knew something, maybe he was seeing something in his team or on the ice that we couldn't see. Now it's like, no doubt this is going the distance.
Where does the nervous energy stand between both teams right now? Because obviously all the momentum is in Edmonton's corner. They're back home. Connor McDavid did the old, we're going to drag them back to Alberta. Like, do you feel the pressure mounting on Florida? And does it feel like Edmonton's kind of okay and getting some confidence in that group and in that room?
Yeah, I mean, all the pressure and all of it has shifted to Florida. Edmonton's just playing on house money right now, right? Like, these are free days. They thought they were going to be on summer vacation, and now they get to keep playing hockey and keep extending their season. The thing about Florida, though, is you would say this is a team. Am I allowed to curse on your guys' show?
Oh, yeah, let it
Big
rip.
time. There's a few words we don't
Fucking
do
right.
anymore, but generally go for it.
All right, fucking right. I feel like the Panthers team would be the one shitting the bed right now, right? You blew 2 games, 2 opportunities to clinch, including at home. But they're the most confident group of guys that I've ever been around. And I think they take so much of their identity from Matthew Tkachuk, who just doesn't care. Like, he puts himself out there. He'll do as many interviews because he has nothing to hide. Like, he's just a swaggy guy and a hockey player. There's so many other guys in that room that I think have that MO. So I don't sense panic from them, like, in the sense that you should, but the pressure is on them because now you could be remembered as the team that blew a 3-0 lead with so many chances to clinch, and almost handed it over to the Oilers. So I think the pressure is on Florida, but both teams, I think, are really confident and have a lot of belief in themselves.
Is Matthew Tkachuk your favorite guy to interview in the league, or like where does he rank? Just because you're right in that he seems like so excited and unguarded, like genuinely excited to just speak, and not in an annoying way, but just like, I got nothing to hide. I like talking about hockey. Let's do it.
That's exactly it. I think he's number 1 on my power rankings, and I wish that a lot of the guys would follow his mold. Where, like, it's not that serious. It doesn't matter that much. Like, doing media obligations, sure, it is annoying, but you're feeding the entertainment business that is this game. And when you create storylines and you create juice and you give us like a little nugget of something interesting or original in these interviews, we can build off of it. We can talk about it. And therefore, we're growing interest in our game and hopefully more money in your pockets because hockey-related revenue goes 50% to the players. So I think on a larger scale, Matthew gets it, that like it really doesn't matter that much and it can only benefit him and his team and the sport. But I also understand why we love this sport is because it's so team-oriented, that it's you put your head down, you work. A star player is really only playing a third of a game. It's more about we and you than I. And so I get why guys are guarded, but I love Matthew that he gets both sides of it. He's a guy's guy. He's a locker room guy. Like, he's the best teammate according to everybody, but he's also the best to us in the media. And I wish just more would follow his mold.
Okay, we don't market shame or fan base shame on this show, but obviously you're in Edmonton right now where it is bananas. I've not been to Florida for a Cup Final game, but I've been there for a bunch of games. The atmosphere, very different. How has it been during this series, and do you think it actually makes an impact?
Yeah, I mean, Edmonton, we've seen how crazy these crowds are. We know how thirsty this city and this country is for a Stanley Cup, and it's everything as expected. We're expecting it to be absolutely buck wild on Friday night. Again, they're on borrowed money. They're here. They get a Friday night game. They're pulling in millions of dollars, just continuing to play on. But Florida is sneaky in the way that they've built. And I think we all have these misconceptions about Florida because of how it was for a really long time, where that's a big building. It's more than 18,000. So many times they had struggled to fill it. They've built a fan base that actually cares because they've won the last 2.5 years, now 3 years. Ever since they won the President's Trophy, made it to the Stanley Cup Final last year. The crowds are packed. It's standing room only. They're knowledgeable about hockey. They're knowledgeable about their teams. It definitely has like that South Florida flavor and vibe, and I like that. It feels authentic to the area. I think just the biggest issue with that team is that the arena is in the middle of a parking lot of a big outlet mall on the Everglades. And so like the party can't quite extend right downtown afterwards. Like, it kind of feels like a buzzkill. And I wish there was more of maybe like a tailgating vibe that we see in Raleigh, or just you can be downtown and just walk to, whatever before and after the game like it is in some other cities like Boston.
But if you ran out of outfits in Florida, you'd be able to fuck up those outlets, because I've done that before where a trip ended up being longer than I thought it would be. And I was like, I am fucking good. I can go to that Banana Republic factory store where everything in a banana factory store looks like it was like crumpled up and thrown against a wall and then put on a hanger. But still, the prices are good, and you could go over there. It being back, the series being back in Edmonton also means the return of the smallest desk in the world. Do you know why that desk is so small?
I do. And I almost wish that we just like came out and said it, because I feel like the conspiracy theories and the ESPN doesn't care about hockey, ESPN has no money to spend on hockey narratives, went kind of buck wild. The initial rumor I heard was that the desk did not make it to Edmonton because of the storm, right? Remember, the Panthers had a hard time getting in. There was really trouble. That's not true. We just picked a location in the arena where there's not much room there. And they spent a lot of time searching for a desk. They were trying to go for like an authentic vibe. So shout out to our production coordinator, Andrea, who apparently came here an extra day early to go shopping at all of these Edmonton furniture stores. She picked out this desk. So again, supporting the local economy. This is from a local Edmonton furniture store. Yes, it does look a little small, but like, let's not focus on the desk. Let's focus on those three excellent men giving the really fun hockey takes. The fact that you can see the ice behind them. It's a really good vantage point for the game. So I'm down with it. I understand juxtaposing it against the desk in Florida, the desk of the NBA. Maybe people didn't like it, but the fact that we're talking about a desk and not what's coming out of everybody's mouth, to me, is a little silly.
Yeah, did you hear the podcast that was saying, like, so they had the three men at the desk, and then you were off to the side because the desk was so small? Did you get, like, well, there was a podcast saying that, like, ESPN hates women because they weren't giving the woman a seat at the table? What a ridiculous conversation.
There were rumors flying around that Emily Kaplan
I'm getting
has
my seat at the
cooties.
table.
You got a seat
Yeah,
at the
that's the
table?
whole point. I mean, I also heard someone say that I was like the little cousin at Thanksgiving that they shoved in from the kids' table. I've heard it all. I think I'm getting a seat at the table there. I loved being there, and I didn't feel it was crowded. I thought it was nice and intimate. You also see me giving myself a lot of space from PK because I've flown on these planes, these long plane rides next to him 3 straight times, so we can take our distance when we get it.
Is it bad behavior that so I don't believe in like taking pictures of people when they're sleeping as somebody in 2011 when back then that was the long trip talk, the Vancouver to Boston thing. Someone took some pictures of me when I was sleeping in a car from Seattle to Vancouver, and I looked like a stupid little baby boy sleeping, and it's like, I'm fucking sleeping. Don't take pictures of me when I'm sleeping and post them. How do you as a teammate of PK Subban feel about this, I think, funny but not amazing behavior?
Okay, we'll talk about respecting women. According to PK and Kevin Weeksy, who are both on the plane, I am such an embarrassing sleeper. My mouth was wide open that it was too embarrassing to take a photo of. Like, they protected my piece by not putting it on the internet. So I think that was a lot of respect for my colleagues, and I'll never apologize for passing the fuck out on a plane. It's one of my greatest gifts.
So ESPN believes women are, quote, embarrassing. This is just not...
That's the quote you should take away from this.
Yes. Working on the graphic as we speak.
That's amazing. I want to ask that Mospit fucking loved you last time you were in Edmonton, and now you're back. Are you a little bit more prepared for the love that might be showered over you in the Mospit? Like, what was your reaction to the Mospit just loving Emily Kaplan?
That was super cool. I'm always humbled. Like, I appear in Around the Horn, and that airs on TSN in Canada, so I think some people know me that way. And from my understanding, some of our ESPN broadcasts, when they're exclusive, do air here. But the fact that people in Canada even know me when there's so many other media, reporters and insiders and people covering the game, that to me is a humbling experience. I'm not fully convinced that all of those people knew who I was. I think, again, someone on our staff was like, they asked me for my name, and I was like, oh, my name's Emily. And then they start chanting Emily, and I'm like, this is kind. I don't know if you guys know me, but like, I'll appreciate the support and just your hospitality. The fact that they were welcoming to an American and wanted to make American TV look cool and their city look cool, I was down for that. So it was a cool experience. People in Florida have also been quite kind and humbling. And I'm sorry I wasn't able to post any videos of that, but shout out to the Florida fans too who have come up to say hi.
I mean, if there's any market that's going to be progressive and kind toward an American broadcaster, it would be Edmonton, because Jack Michaels, their play-by-play guy, an American working in Canada. So Edmonton, American respecters. And I love that about
Leon
them.
Draisaitl,
Right.
also American.
Who else is American? Sorry, these loading.
Leon
docks are tough.
Draisaitl. I was kidding. I was making a joke.
Oh yeah.
I bet as I
It
was
was a
saying
great
that,
joke.
you were
Sorry,
like, fuck, I've been saying thank you to him in German. What does he know that I don't know?
I don't know. What do you guys know?
Very little, honestly. Do you think that this goes 7?
I do, although this series is so unexpected. It's like, I felt like once Edmonton won here, it was like, okay, we're all going back. This is going the distance. Like, it's really hard to win at home. But just because we're all expecting it and just because Edmonton has all of the momentum.
Oh.
We might be taking a little time out from.
Absolutely crushed hopes and dreams of Connor McDavid and American Leon Draisaitl.
Yes, that's right. By the way, somebody in the chat clarified on the fans in Edmonton who knew who you were. They said we just simply steal ESPN, so that is why they know who you are. they're like, we just take it offline, which I don't know how to do. And Emily has dropped off due to service connection, possibly. Still a great segment.
Let's hope that she wasn't hit by a Zamboni or something. It seemed like there was some stuff going
Canadian
on in that
Wi-Fi.
tunnel. But yeah,
Could have been ESPN.
she was great. I was not expecting an Emily Kaplan F-bomb on her debut appearance, but I loved it.
Emily Kaplan has more F-bomb. I don't know her super well, but she has more F-bomb energy than we get to see.
Oh, yeah.
With the that is
She's very cool.
I am as somebody on the chat noted, I have forever been campaigning for ESPN to reorg their hockey broadcast and hockey coverage and make Emily Kaplan their Adam Schefter type, who's brought in because she's talking to
her on the
these
desk.
people and everything. Great on the desk and great, obviously, doing the game broadcasts as well. Not to say that anyone can do the game broadcast, but we'd see more of the not necessarily swearing, but
Never know.
if they
PK
can
Subban can talk about his penis.
if they can Adam Schefter or Mina Kimes her, then she's gonna be swearing all the fucking time, man.
Chat, you kind of dry snitched on the chat for stealing ESPN. That's why people think she disconnected, because ESPN heard you talking about the piracy.
So I thought
the mouse
ESPN
yanked her.
Yeah.
I thought ESPN saw a woman talking about hockey and to cut her off. They were like, we don't give them seats at the table. We don't.
They get to correct you. They give them a quarter of a seat at
They
the
gave
table.
him a seat next to the table.
They give him a seat.
Table
Well, she
adjacent.
did have a seat.
She had a seat.
They did.
It was table adjacent.
Yes. But honestly, and that's not I think that given the whole desk gate, I thought that it was a better look for her that she wasn't at the table than
She doesn't want to
that the other,
associate
because
herself
the
with the
other three
desk.
were scrunched up. She at least if she needed to reach into her pocket and go on her phone or something, she was able to do it. PK is
He's making himself small.
so it's left to right, mothering, and then smothering.
Yes, correct.
They're
Yes.
just all stuck at that table.
Maybe Emily's just man-spreading. We haven't discussed that potential.
Amazing. I'm just very glad. I was thinking about, I was how do we bring up the outfits thing? Because I don't know, you have somebody on and be like, hey, let's talk about the way you look or the way you dress can be.
Let's talk about your clothes.
Yeah, it can be inappropriate, especially with women in sports. There's so much more extra placement is put on that. I never get the sense from our people and from when we're doing the watch party stuff that we're doing it in a shitty way.
No, they're
Just,
bringing
more
it up half the time and being like, "Yo, Emily's outfit." Is
oh yeah, and I'm not trying to
crushing.
dump it all on our chat, because we're also hell yeah, that's an awesome shirt.
To be fair, we also spent equal amounts of time on the men and what they were wearing last time out, because PK and Messier looked fucking unbelievable.
But I do feel great that all of that was confirmed. She's like, oh yeah, no, if I think that I've got stuff for if I think it's a closeout game.
Yeah.
And granted, closeout, no pun intended. Granted, game 4, I don't think I saw what she was rocking or whatever, but I like that strategy, and that she ran out of stuff. Probably could have reworn something, but is no, this is a big game. Now I got to go shopping and I got to find something that tops what I had before.
You can't retread an outfit in the same series.
Oh, no way.
Oh, in the same series? Well, that's where the double standard comes in. Where
I feel like that applies.
Men
PK can't pull out the
pack
same
one
suit
suit.
either.
I was gonna say you could bring one suit if you want. If you're a man, it's not the greatest
Not if you're
behavior.
PK at this point. I feel like PK has put too much. Has
It
raised
depends how
the bar
loud the
for
suit
him.
is. Because if you wear
Yeah.
a loud suit, people
That's
are going to
fair.
notice it.
Yeah.
all
That's
the
a problem
time.
that I got myself into back when I was a more dedicated dresser. I would get pieces that I loved that I could wear once a year.
Yeah.
Because if you wear, for example, a paisley blazer that I loved so much, the second time you wear it in 2 months, people
Scott
are
wears
like,
that
"You
shirt
wear
all the
that
time."
every day, huh?" It's not the case.
Our friend John Buchagras has that electric blue suit that he wears all the time because he loves it so much. But he also like addresses that he wears it all the time. He's like bringing this bad boy out again. So I mean, it is, if you dress like, I don't want to say boring, but traditionally as a man, you can recycle. You can also like do a lot more combinations. With,
Yeah, you mix
with
up the
suits.
ties.
Like you can change up the shirt, you can change up the tie, and give it a different look, different vibe. It's not as easy.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, being fancy as a guy when you were dressed in a suit was like having cool socks. So, the thing that was interesting to me is that she said she's wearing a black blazer dress for a funeral.
McDavid did that for game 3.
Kachuk did
Or
it
4.
for one of the games too. Recently, he did it all black, dressing for a funeral. Didn't work.
I think that was
pal.
game 4, wasn't it?
Might have been game 4.
I
yeah.
like that what's supposed to happen. That like we've reached the point in the series where trends don't matter. For example, Celtics game win game 5. NBA had dictated what the NHL would do the whole final series. It goes the other way. The officials in game 5 spelled out, okay, so Florida's definitely going to win. And Florida definitely did not win that game, even if they ended up coming closer than I would have liked them to. But I do have a solution, or I do have an answer to what happened to our terrific guest, Emily Kaplan.
What happened?
It was a data issue.
Oh,
It was a Canada-America thing where you have a certain amount when you're in whatever. So depending on
Damn,
what...
so we kind of just fucked over Emily.
she
for the
maxed
day.
out.
I think we may have maxed her out.
You
can always buy more
for
data,
the rest
though.
of the
You
day.
could, but yeah,
You can buy more data, and it's not that expensive.
It's not even noon there yet. She's out of data.
Yeah,
Tough.
she probably needed that data anyway.
probably doing a bunch of hits. People were like, "Yo, what's going on with that desk? Let's get Kaplan. Let's get to the bottom." But again, that's where like the Schefter thing comes in. We needed somebody to get to the bottom of a story,
and she did it.
Kaplan had the scoop right away. She was, and it made me feel bad for the production designer who had to go,
Went early, went shopping,
like, did all of the work. Absolutely not this person's fault.
and then got cooked.
I hope ESPN's not blaming that person for it. But what a show we've had. 3 guests, right?
Well,
2
we
so
had
far.
2 so far,
One
yeah.
still to come. Chris Johnston from TSN and The Athletic talked to us right before we went on because we had to do all these ones live. Chris was nice enough to jump on right before we began the show to talk about all this moving and shaking because a lot of people did not know. You could be making trades right now. You could be doing all sorts of shit right now when we've already had a bajillion moves. Most recently, Pierre-Luc Dubois yesterday. There was also the Barclay Goodrow shit. Let's show our interview with Chris now. Chris, things going down these last few days that fans are like, I didn't know that this could happen right now. And I'm referring to Jacob Markstrom being traded. We didn't know that Jacob Markstrom could actually be traded
At
ever.
all.
That was ever going to happen.
Well, I mean, he's probably thankful for it, frankly. I mean, he did not appreciate, I think it's fair to say, the long, drawn-out process. But he got kind of his wish. I think in the end, there's probably only a couple places he would have even waived his no-movement clause for one to go, and New Jersey was at the top of the list, even going back to the regular season. And so he gets to celebrate Swedish Midsummer on Friday, knowing what his future looks like and where his new home will be.
Hell yeah! Were you surprised by the return or underwhelmed by the return? What was your reaction to the return for Markstrom?
You know, I'm usually underwhelmed by return for any goaltender. I think that Calgary, under the circumstances where they couldn't create a bidding war because Markstrom had the no movement clause and was going to keep the list pretty tight ultimately. I think they did reasonably well. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you go back over time, there's not many goalies that get you much more than a first round pick. I don't entirely know why that is, other than maybe nobody can figure out what goaltending is worth. I mean, you see a pretty wide range of approaches to how teams currently roll out the goalies in their net. With a few of the big earners, the Vasilevskis, the Hellebucks, and the like. But a lot of teams now just rolling the dice. We got Sergei Bobrovsky right now in the Stanley Cup Final making $10 million, but more often than not now it seems like teams don't want to commit too much money there, and obviously don't want to give up a lot of assets when they're making a trade for a goalie. So I think it was probably in the range. You can arm wrestle. Maybe they could have got a higher, the higher first round pick this year or something like that. But getting a first and a player that can play in Calgary's lineup, I think is reasonably good, given that Markstrom really had the hammer here.
The other big deal yesterday was PLD getting traded to Washington. Are you surprised that the Caps bit and took that PLD deal? Like we've been talking about him as a buyout candidate. That seemed like the more likely conclusion from like my brain, just assuming that nobody would want that contract.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys are aware of this. There was a weird circumstance, though, where he turns 26 in a couple days. And so if the series went 7 games, the buyout window doesn't open until 48 hours after the Cup Final is awarded. It would have cost, a third more to buy him out. And so, that was a weird, I can't recall that ever coming up or being a factor in a decision for a team. But I think, what LA was able to do is get certainty. They don't have to mess around with that. They don't have to deal with having 14 years of any cap charge, which is what it would have been for a buyout on their books. And they found a way to move him, before July 1st, when his, no trade protection kicked in. So it is a strange one. I think they found the right kind of trading partner. I mean, the Capitals, as long as they have Alex Ovechkin and John Carlson and some of those legacy players, do not want to do anything looking like a rebuild. And some of us might forget because it feels like the playoffs started 2 years ago on the moon. But they did make the playoffs this year unexpectedly.
Did they really though? Did they make the playoffs?
Well, they had two home games where they didn't have to pay their players for them, and the owner got some gates. So yeah, it was quick. But I guess the point is they definitely don't want to fall down to the bottom of the league. They don't want to consider rebuild in anything like the short term, and so they have to take some risks. There's no getting around the fact this is a risk. How you view PLD is you could probably argue both cases pretty credibly. He is only 25. He has played really good hockey. He's got the physical tools to be an elite player. He was the 3rd overall pick not so long ago when he was drafted. There's a world where they can make this work, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, taking his entire cap hit for 7 years is a monumental risk. We'll be talking about a buyout with him and them somewhere down the line if that's the case.
For PLD himself, I just so badly want him to get going. Do you think that whether it's like the most recent examples I could think of are like James Neal and Lucic, like once you get dumped, is there less pressure on a player when they get to the new team where, yeah, it sucks that you're kind of viewed as a depreciated or a depressed asset or whatever, but once he has been essentially dumped, which is what's happened, can he just be like, you know what? Yeah, I've got a huge contract, but now I'm a reclamation project. And now I don't have to be the guy. I just have to get incrementally better again.
By the way, I'm not letting you sneak by without addressing that monumental risk pun that you made.
Oh, there are monuments there. He's Canadian. He didn't know that, though.
I know the monuments.
Probably better than we do, honestly.
Well, look, I'll say this. It's definitely less pressure. This is the first time PLD's been traded where he didn't force the trade, right? He didn't have a say in this. And I think that as much as I'm sort of having fun with that, there's certain risk when you openly sort of force your way out of town. In the case of the LA thing, he signs a sign and trade with Winnipeg, and it's an 8-year deal, and he was only going to go to Winnipeg or Montreal in that scenario. There is risk that comes with it. You're expected to perform, and the one thing I'll say about Dubois is he's been pretty open, at least in the interviews I've seen with him, about he's taken some culpability here. I haven't seen a lot of excuse making from him, but he had 40 points and he made $8.5 million on the cap this year. So those two things do not equate very well together. I actually had a chance. I was over in Prague at the World Hockey Championships earlier this spring, and he played for Team Canada there, and I had a chance to talk with him. And again, found him to be pretty forthright about, wanting, knowing that his career is going now in a direction that he really doesn't like. I mean, it's hard to just brush it off. I mean, with the way things have gone. So I don't know if he can get it back together. I find him actually quite a likable fellow. It would be cool to see that happen, but it's all on him. But I think the difference is that the Caps fan base isn't getting him thinking like he's a savior or anything. And so I do think there's an opportunity for, if he's just gets back to even being 70-point kind of guy, 65 and impactful. If you can find some chemistry maybe with Ovechkin, I mean, all those things lead this to looking a little bit and feeling a little bit better for him.
Another name we're hearing now, albeit still not as much as I expected. We talked about this guy last week as sort of being the star player that everyone has forgotten, is Linus Ullmark, because the Kings get their goalie now, and Bruce Garriock reports yesterday that the Senators are going to push hard for Ullmark. But it seems like with all the goalie talk, and you're right, goalies don't get traded for a lot. Corey Schneider, a first-round pick a bajillion years ago, but it blows my mind that it seems his stock is to the point where like we're talking about, oh yeah, maybe like the Senators can grab him. How do you see the whole Ullmark thing shaking out?
Well, he's got a limited no trade clause. I think it's 15 teams, if I'm not mistaken, that he can prevent himself from going to. And so that gums up the works a little bit. I do think if he was just fully available to be traded, it seems to me Ottawa is motivated enough that deal is probably already done by this point in time. And it seems as though he may not be that inclined to necessarily want to play in Canada, which is his right. I mean, you negotiate that trade, that trade protection. There's lots of other places he doesn't have to get traded. But now you see New Jersey get their goalie. Kemper, I guess, is LA's goalie. It would seem, with David Riddick, who's already been there. So I'm not saying there's nowhere for Ullmark to go, but some of the merry-go-round is people are claiming their seats now, and there's a little bit less there to be done. But I still believe that he's going to be moved. I put out a trade board today. He was number 2 on my list, so that reflects what I think of the player and what I think the opportunity is for someone to reach out and make a swing for him. But I'm with you. I think a little bit of a forgotten man, maybe because Jeremy Swayman took the net a little bit late in the season in Boston or what have you. But I still remember that Vezina Trophy season. And really, if you look at his work in its entirety in Boston, I mean, he's been above average the entire time.
And he's $5 million.
Yeah,
it's 1 year, $5 million. Like that contract and that player, I would think, is a dream come true. Sorry,
There's no risk, really. It seems like.
Well,
do you have a general sense?
One other thing on him, though, I should say, is like maybe teams are waiting to see if they can do an extension with him, right? Because as of July 1st, he can sign an extension, and so maybe it's the $5 million is a positive, but they're worried, oh, he's going to come for 1 year and leave, and so maybe it's more driven by what the teams want to do with him.
Do you have a general sense of like what the parameters are on his no movement and no trade limits? Because we've heard like from rumors just that like he doesn't want to go West Coast, he doesn't want to go Canada. Does he not want to play for a team that's not going to contend? Do you have any sense of like what his trade list is built around?
Well, I think the things you mentioned are all possibilities, and look, maybe he can be compelled to change his mind too. I mean, it's one thing to have to deal with that before the trade deadline, as he did, where this really popped up. And he's mid-season. He's on, this Bruins team where obviously he's so close with a lot of the players, including his goalie mate there. But now it's the off season, and I think there's an opportunity to have conversations with potential teams that might acquire you. Maybe they're sending you over like, PDFs of what the real estate market looks like. I mean, maybe they can put together a pitch that would compel him to change. But I think in short, he wants to play for a team where he's comfortable from a family or personal standpoint where he's living. And he wants, I think, to play for a good team. And, there should still be some that satisfy that out there. I think New Jersey would have made some sense if they weren't able to complete the Markstrom deal and get that across the line. But there's still other teams that have unsettled goalie pictures. And it wouldn't even be surprising to me that next year we're at this point in the season, we're in the Stanley Cup Final, and we're talking about Team X. What a great deal they made, to get Ullmark in. That changed everything, and now here he is with a chance to win a cup. I mean, I think he's that good, and so it's a little more complicated from the Bruins end of things, just because they can't trade him just anywhere. But he earned that. He was a pretty in-demand free agent when he signed there.
You think Carolina makes a lot of sense?
I do. I just don't know what they're thinking. Carolina does things and I say this actually as a compliment. They beat to their own drum, right? They do things a little differently. They've had this great team. They have this unresolved blue line with all these guys. Brett Pesce going to free agency, potentially Brady Shea unsigned. I mean, they do off the board things, but I think on the surface level, certainly that looks like it could be a fit because they've had some good goaltending, even great goaltending, but you just don't know who their goaltender is at any point in time. Cycling through Antti Ranta, obviously Freddie Anderson, and they got Pyotr Kochetkov coming, but maybe he's not ready fully to be the main starter next season.
Do you see them like kind of changing their sort of modus operandi at all under Tulsky, like with the way that Tulsky now has full reins? How do you kind of see that shaping out?
Well, it was always my impression that they actually worked in lockstep there, that Eric Tulsky had a ton of influence on the moves they were making. But, naturally, he's now in the main position when it comes to making hockey decisions. He happens to have a boss that's quite involved in Tom Dundon, the team owner, which isn't always the case. Different teams have ownership structures where they almost stay out of the moves. Just tell me what I need to know if there's a big financial decision coming. But beyond that, we just leave you to run the department. I think it's always been pretty collaborative for the Hurricanes, and Tulsky, the reason he's been named their full-time general manager is because he's built up a lot of cachet within the organization, and he's been part of a lot of the great decisions they've made. I mean, that I did have another team once tell me that whenever Carolina calls you with like a trade idea or discussion and you like it, it's like you want to step back and think twice, because that's a team that really has not made a lot of bad trades. I mean, every team's going to have some swings and misses, or every GM or executive, what have you, because that's the nature of the business. But Carolina has been run really well for a long time, and Tulsky's been a huge part of that operation, even before having the front-facing job of GM.
On the subject of Carolina, Hurricanes legend Jeff Skinner has 3 years left at $9 million per with a no move. Kevin Adams says in Buffalo they're exploring all possibilities. What do you think happens with him?
Seems like it's headed towards a buyout. That window can open as early as Saturday, or I guess Sunday, if the series ends in Game 6 in the Stanley Cup Final, because it's that 48 hours after the trophy's lifted. Because he has that full no move, he'd have to be compelled to waive it. There's an argument to be made, and I don't have all the numbers in front of me, that if he gets bought out, he's likely to probably recoup that money on his next deal as a free agent, where he can go, test the whole market, versus where he's got to agree or not to go to one specific place where the Sabres can make a deal. And so I think it's more likely than not that Skinner will be one of the players who becomes a free agent here in the next week or so. And it'll probably be just a dollars and cents decision. The odd player makes a bit more. I remember Ryan Suter, I think, when he was bought out by Minnesota, managed to get that deal in Dallas that made him even a little bit more than whole. But generally speaking, Skinner's probably going to make the same amount of money over these next years. He's just going to be able to make it somewhere else, if the buyout happens.
And this is probably the toughest question, but we're going to ask everybody who's on today. Draisaitl, what is his future, do you think?
It's fascinating. I don't think anybody knows. And the reason I say that is because, it's Draisaitl, but it's also Ken Holland, the general manager of the Oilers. His contract expires on June 30th. I've lost track of what day it is with all these flights back and forth to Florida, but I know it's awfully close to June 30th. And I know that as of July 1st, Leon Draisaitl has the ability to sign an extension with the Oilers. It won't surprise you, absolutely 100%, the Oilers are going to try to move heaven and earth to get him to sign that contract. But, if, and this is still just an if, because I know with the stage of the Cup Finals that discussions have really not been going on behind the scenes. But, if he doesn't want to sign that extension, the Oilers have a big decision to make. Do you bring him into a final year? Do you say, hey, it's one more kick at the can with this group, or maybe we can convince him to sign during the season, like we saw with David Pastrnak a couple of years ago, William Nylander last year? Or do you do the unthinkable and look at trading Leon Draisaitl? I mean, I think all options are on the table right now. I don't know how a win or loss in the Cup Final might, affect it, but it probably does have some effect for everybody at the table. And so, yeah, all I can say for sure is Leon Draisaitl has at least one more game as an Oiler, because there is Game 6 in the series. But after that, I mean, we're going to have to see where the chips fall. The plan right now from Edmonton's management is to sit down with his agent as soon as they can, once the season's settled, to start those conversations.
How many more games do you think he has potentially as an Oiler? You said at least one. Do you think that he has at least two?
And this is where like the fan in me's coming out, and it's not that I'm cheering against the Panthers. It's more like the
I am.
opportunity to go to a game. A game. Well, I know you are. I don't have the same bias as you, but you own your bias. I love it. I just want a game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final because even if you live a long time, you don't see that many, and this could be one of one. I mean, Connor McDavid playing the way he's playing, Edmonton. If there's a game 7, means they came back from 0-3 down in the series. I mean, what a spectacle that would be. So that's sort of what I'd like to see, but I learned a long time ago what I want to happen isn't always what happens.
Is Connor McDavid your Conn Smythe no matter what?
Yeah, unless something crazy happens. If Barkov has a 10-goal first period in game 6, maybe I'll change my mind. But like I think that at this point, when you're knocking down the door on these Gretzky records, when you're doing something that's never 108 Stanley Cups, we've never had a player of 8 points in 2 games, and to do it with his team facing elimination, to do it with what he is, who he is, the series he had against Dallas, he had a strong opening round too. I just think it's too compelling of a case to pass up.
Yeah, I forgot you vote. It's during the game you vote, right? It's like
yeah, I have to by 10 minutes left in the third period.
Yeah, so shit, he needs to, when we do our stream for that game, potentially, if that game's happening, we have to like have a timer and a cutoff for here is the time that Alexander Barkov has to score per Chris Johnston 10 goals. And if not, he's fucked. He can get that other trophy, but we'll all know when it comes to Conn Smythe, he's a fucking losing player.
Before we get you out of here, I do want to ask you, we do a lot of behavior grades on this show. And I wanted to ask you your behavior grade on the New York Rangers and Chris Drury, because the Barclay Goodrow situation that played out yesterday is that he didn't want to get traded to the Sharks, so they kind of found a workaround. They waived him. The Sharks claimed him. Like, how do you interpret that as somebody who is close to like these dealings?
Well, I would say that they happen all the time. Ryan McDonough played in 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals with Tampa, and 3 days after the most recent final in 2022, he basically was told he was going on waivers if he didn't work with them to find a place he would go in his no movement clause. That's how he ended up in Nashville. Obviously, he's back in Tampa. Years ago, I think Anaheim and Columbus cooked up something like this. I mean, I guess the point is it does happen. It's difficult, I'm sure, for Barclay Goodrow and his family. I'm mindful of that, but this is a tough business. The Rangers are trying to win a Stanley Cup, and when I look at the teams that have won cups in the last years, whether it's Lightning, whether it's the Vegas Golden Knights, I mean, one thing they've all done is make difficult decisions, sometimes ruthless or even cutthroat decisions. And this might not behavior grade. I'm not sure this is like completely cutthroat or ruthless. I mean, they're acting completely within what's allowed in the CBA, but for someone who was wearing the A for them in the playoffs and was a free agent signing a few years ago, I mean, this is a tough way to bring an end to his time with the Rangers.
So I heard A.
Yeah.
You just said A there. So behavior grade A.
That's for sure.
Guest grade A, as always, with Chris Johnston. You're the best, buddy. We were reminiscing last week in Edmonton, and I was like, man, I knew you when your name was fucking Chris. How old are we? You've been CJ now for 100 years.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, you knew me when I didn't have all this gray in my beard. So, I mean, we go way back.
It works, man. It really does.
Yeah, it's all, man. There's nothing you can't do. You're the best. Thanks for joining us, man.
Do you want to know a secret about that? Is once someone tried to convince me, a TV person, to start dyeing it, and I said no. So I'm leaning into the gray. I've never dyed the beard.
You should. I mean, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You should not dye the beard. I meant you should lean into it, not you should dye it. Let's clear that up. That was awkward.
We'll see you in Florida, though. Right?
Game 7, boys. Yep. Game 7.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, my friend.
Love you, buddy.
Have a good one. Great question that Sean thought of from the Chris Johnston interview, where Chris said, yeah, he needs to score 10 goals in the first period because you vote at the end of the series. Sean, you asked.
I mean, that means they have to have been voting over the last couple of games since every game since game 4 has been an elimination game. So I'm very curious what that voting has looked like and how it's changed over the course of the last couple of games.
I can't remember. I think I have voted, but I can't remember. I definitely didn't in 2011 because then I would have been doing it for 2 games in a row, and I don't remember doing that. In Game 6 was such a mess of shit, and the Bruins were winning until the last second. So I don't have a recollection there, but that must have to happen,
right? And like I had said too, like Game 4 voting probably would have been very interesting because it was obvious very early on that the series wasn't over because they were getting blown out. The Panthers were getting blown
voting
out.
for Bob in a game in which he's been pulled.
Yeah, like I wonder if people were just like, even if they didn't believe it, were just like throwing votes at McDavid just because these votes don't matter. If they were still voting for Barkov, if people just like opted not to vote at that point, basically because they knew there was no point.
They send the losing Conn Smythes to third world countries.
Yeah, someone's going to steal this idea, but we should for sure at the end of like the second period of every elimination game in the Cup Final have like a small group that we poll of media members who are there, who are voting. We say we won't reveal your names, but what does your thing look like? And then throw that out there. And then at the end of the series say, our small informal poll had this person winning after whatever games. It's an interesting thing. Not as interesting. The Kings have unveiled their new logo, and it is exactly what you think it would be. Big
much.
Flyers energy out of the Kings, where they're like, we're rebranding, and you're like, are you?
Well, but this is like if you were expecting anything else, why?
Right,
Because
they're
they've
going
been very
back to a
open.
souped-up version of something, of like one of their main two
It's
things.
big Senators energy.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It's more Senators than it is Flyers.
But I think that the Kings have been very like forthright.
Yeah.
Very open about.
Yeah, that's
like,
why I said it's exactly what you thought it would be.
Yeah. They made some subtle changes. I guess the crown's a little bit different. The word mark is a little bit bolder or something. I think it looks great. It looks just similar enough to the previous one that you loved, and maybe you can just say, yeah, it's new, quote unquote new. But I think it looks great.
Yeah, someone in the chat said, look at how fast that word is moving. It's a tough one to screw up, I'll say. I like they're going back to it, so there aren't a ton of crazy thoughts to have on this. Sean, you like it?
Yeah, it's asymmetrical, which I'm not always crazy about.
Yes, it is.
But it's still, I mean, it's a good logo.
It's moving fast.
It is.
Somebody said they want to see the side by side of this one versus the old one. I don't know if you can.
It can't be done.
Can't be done.
No, unfortunately.
I
Past is
honestly
the
don't know
past.
that I would be able to recognize which one was old and which one was not.
Oh, I absolutely would have been able to. I mean, this one does, in all seriousness, look different to me. It's fat.
chonky.
It's
Yeah.
fat. Yeah, it's like you did the not just bold, but you widened the font in Photoshop.
Yeah, it's somebody said that it was bulkier, and I think that that's a good way of doing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that you can see the difference there.
Yeah, like the Snoop Dogg one is like
So do you like the old one better than
Definitely.
the new one? Or is it just like you're not used to the new one yet?
it could be a combination of both, but I definitely like the old one. The
I
old one
love
looks
the
like
old
it's
one.
moving way faster. So that's the new one.
That's the old one.
Oh, that
My point exactly.
That is the
Whoa,
old one.
Okay, so there you go. So that's the old one.
Yes.
Well, now wait. You'll see that the new one is way fatter though.
Yeah, for sure. That one takes up more. The King's like word mark in that one feels like it takes up more space.
Oh yeah, that one is moving way slower. But I think it's moving slower because it's got more cargo.
Is the game slowing down?
Yeah, that's the Kings are moving in the wrong direction. The
Kings have
game is
traded
getting
PLD.
faster, and they're getting stuck in the mud.
The big
They're-
difference for me is I hated this Los Angeles up here. It looked like an afterthought, and there was way too much room up there, and they slimmed that down a little bit, which I think is.
I don't like that they got it right. It's a little too quantized, a little too auto-tuned for me. I want some of the human element in it. I want it to look like someone did it just free ball.
That's what
Raw
That's
dog.
what real art's for. Graphic design is to be perfect.
This Southern California rebrand is happening at the same time as another Southern California rebrand,
A more
The-
exciting one.
the Anaheim Ducks. And we did get a leak, maybe. Can you say it's a leak if you don't know if it's official?
Do we not know if this picture that I've seen a bajillion times shared by everybody it might not be a real picture?
Some people are suggesting that it might be AI. They're pointing to one of the
Uh-oh.
sticks. Sean's working on grabbing the Ducks photo.
Well, now
But-
I don't like to be shit stirrers. I don't want to fucking put something out there that's
No,
totally
but like there are
wrong.
actual Ducks players. It's Cam Fowler, and I forget who the other one is. And it certainly looks like it's pulled from a like unveiling video that somebody's working on. So like I feel like the weird stick issue might be more of a like video effects kind of result. This lines up with what I've heard about the Ducks jerseys. Number one, very orange. Full orange, including the buckets and the pants. And I don't know how I feel about the away jersey with the orange shoulder yoke.
So I also don't know how I feel. I don't mind the away jersey, and I'm fine on the away jersey, and I can't tell if I really like or really hate the home jersey. I think that generally you're always going to like something that involves the Disney duck, even if it's an angrier one that they've made. But
I don't like it.
you're out. You don't like
I
it.
was consistent from the beginning. The colors were always the problem for me. I do not like the orange. It's too. I don't know. I just don't like it. The gold is not yellow enough for me. It's still a little too sand.
It does look kind of sandy.
I just don't.
We were trying to move away from.
They
the
have
sand.
bad colors. Everyone that told me I was wrong is wrong. I don't care.
Honestly,
the Web D is way
Put it
better.
on his tombstone. Everyone who told me I was wrong was wrong.
The Web
Sean
D in
DePaz.
purple and teal would have been a million times better than this duck.
Oh.
in the orange and
Oh,
black.
no way.
No, I
Get
think I'm
outta
with you
here.
there.
No way.
The orange is
Absolutely
But you
bad.
not.
can't
The colors
not have
are
the
so
duck.
bad.
But you cannot have the duck, Sean.
I agree. I don't think we needed to live in a world in which it was one or the other. Just go back to the best colors and best logo in the history of the NHL.
I would rather
there's
have,
two
I would
rules in
rather
the
have the
NHL.
logo. I would rather have the logo with the different colors than the keep the webbed foot. The webbed foot stinks.
I don't
It
think it's
really
that bad.
does.
I think it just is a matter of the colors.
I think it stinks, but I also think that part of the deal with the Ducks is they will never have the best version of their jersey. It's just off the table. Maybe it's because they began with the best version and have only changed since. Every time the Ducks do something different, I'm not like, oh, this is going to suck, but I'm also not like, this is going to be great. I will never expect them to knock it out of the park. I think that for my Ducks expectations, I'm okay with this. But again, as I turn my eyes back to it and I see just, it's like so much rust. And I think I'm kind of begrudgingly out.
They're very stubborn in that they just won't go back to a 10 out of 10 jersey in branding that we all fucking love.
But you never think that, like, that was never a possibility in your brain, right?
Not really. No,
Yeah.
they're just they're too stubborn. I think I like the jersey. I think the jersey is good. I would have preferred to see them, assuming that this is real, obviously. I would have liked to see like the swoosh striping at the bottom, like you had the on the old jersey. Like this is pretty standard striping. I don't love like the full orange, but that's something that can be corrected. Like that you can swap out your pants, you can swap out your helmets. You can't change the jersey in the middle of a season. So
I think they're bad jerseys.
I like the jerseys. I think the jerseys are good. I think that this is a step in the right direction no matter what. Like they're not going to have the worst jersey in the league anymore, which they've had like some of the worst jerseys in the NHL for a long time.
I think they took a single step forward after taking 500 backwards originally.
Yes.
that saying
Also,
that this
Pete
is a
proved he
single
doesn't-
step forward, I think is a little unfair.
I think
also
the bottom
it's a
of
little
these jerseys
unfair.
is a travesty.
I also think it's a little unfair to fully critique this until we see better lit pictures, better like more official releases. So don't know for sure if this one's real, but if it is, I also want to see a better quality photo.
I also
Pete
will
doesn't
say
know puck.
the Web D on the shoulders gives massive, like these are just AHL jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
Like it just looks like an affiliate, which
Yeah.
I don't like either.
I mean, they're not the only team that has a secondary logo
Well,
on
I
their
know,
shoulders.
but when it's that logo, it looks very much like it just looks. It doesn't look like it's their. It's not their secondary logo. It's just the primary logo they've had for the last decade, or however long it's been.
Yeah,
so
but
like in this context, obviously a few years removed, it won't be hit like that.
A month after seeing these on the ice, you'll just be like, oh yeah, that was
probably.
the logo.
But like it just in these particular pictures, these look very AHL-y to me, and I don't like it.
The reason Pete doesn't know puck is he said that you can't change your jerseys during the season. Famously, the Ducks changed their jersey during a game.
That's true.
Second period to third period, they said, fuck USA.
But they no longer became the Ducks.
No, they became the Ducks by doing that.
Oh, you're right. They were USA.
And they changed jerseys during the season when they went from District 5 to the Ducks. So
That's true.
all they do is change jerseys.
That's true.
And they do it in real life too, but they, like the NHL team hasn't yet done it during the game. The Ducks should be allowed to do that. Once a year, they should be able to come out in the third, new jerseys. Not just like, hey, we're wearing our third jersey today. Thing we'd never seen before. Because that was the first time that we saw that classic Mighty Ducks jersey.
Do we know the reasoning why they ditched the purple to begin with?
I believe it was because after they stopped being a Disney product, they were like, we're the Ducks now.
Yeah, when Disney sold the team, I think they wanted to
distance themselves?
I think that the new ownership and
Correct.
Disney wanted to kind of like
remembering.
take separate paths and rebrand and not have it be the Disney team.
Because famously, the Arizona Diamondbacks also used to have purple and teal, which I think were the best, like some of the best baseball jerseys ever, if not the best. And they changed them because the Colorado Rockies were also purple. And they were in the same division. They didn't want to have that. And it was the lamest thing I've ever heard.
Daki's having a couple of good days in the chat. Says they should come out in the third period wearing the jerseys of whatever team is winning the game. Great move.
Do you think that now that they're going back to the logo, that they should consider going back to being the Mighty Ducks?
Oh, I've always wanted them to be the Mighty Ducks. But that's again why like my expectations for them are so low. You had the best logo, you had the best jerseys, you were called the Mighty Ducks, and you've moved away from it and only have here and there leaned a little bit back towards it. Like I'm just never going to expect them to do the right thing.
I mean, I have to believe the Mighty Ducks specifically is Disney property.
Oh, maybe. But I think you bought that. Probably. Who knows what the deal was like? I haven't seen the paperwork. You can get Frank on and then Blade cook his ass.
I think maybe there was some legal hurdles that they had initially, but I think that those have since been cleared because they have been going back to, like they went back to the original Duck, like Mighty Duck sweater for the reverse retros. Then they've had iterations of the Mighty Duck logo with the one that they're using now. So
I was just the Mighty Duck, like Mighty Duck specifically, since it's also the name of like a movie that they own. I could see them being particularly protective of the Mighty part.
The only time I can see them going back to the Mighty Ducks is if they go back to the full original sweater, colors, branding, all that.
Like get Julie the Cat Gaffney, get the whole team.
The Mighty Ducks is so much better of a name than the Ducks.
Crazy.
It's insane. Like they are standing in their own way and their own branding so heavily.
And have you thought about like teams usually are described as Mickey Mouse, derogatory.
Yeah.
And the Ducks have always been the team where I'm like, fuck, couldn't you just be
Mouse.
more Mickey Mouse?
Ducks is such a goofy ass name. No pun intended.
Yes, that was like move away from Mighty Ducks to being like, no, we're just the Ducks.
Like it
that's
only makes
less
sense
intimidating.
if you are Disney. Like, okay, it's the Mighty Ducks. That's fun. But now you're just Ducks.
Especially like teams always try to make their branding more menacing. Like they're like, our look is a little too soft. Our name, how do we inspire more fear in our opponents? And the Ducks were like, let's take away the thing that makes us tough. Let's just be Ducks.
At least Utah is being like, I don't give a shit if you don't think of snakes when we think of Utah. We're gonna be Venom.
Venom, you know that song? You don't know that song.
Of course I do.
Who's it by?
Eminem.
Yeah, everybody knows that song. It's a ridiculous song. Venom, Venom, Venom. That guy is crazy. We got a game 6 tomorrow, boys.
We do. We have a Game 6 stream tomorrow as well. So if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button. You'll get all our standalone YouTube content. You'll be able to see our streams easier. It helps us visibility-wise. Also, we like to get those numbers up as high as we can. We did hit 7,000 subscribers yesterday. So shout out to all the new subscribers. We appreciate you. Shout out to all the old subscribers. You're real ones. Now's a great time for a like spike. So if you are in here, please hit that thumbs up right below the video player. Hit that like button and see how high we can drive those numbers. We very much appreciate it, and we love you so much.
How good were these guests today? Bob, unbelievable. I said after, I don't know what we did to be so lucky to, Pete coined the term Staufferverse, that he not only will join our universe, but he actively wants us in his. I don't know what he gets. Now I'm going to be modest, but I don't know what he's getting out of this deal, but I'm just so glad he's doing this deal with us.
Well, I mean, I did see people in the chat say that this podcast is propaganda. It's Oilers propaganda, and it's working. Somebody in the chat was saying, I have no idea how this show has turned me into an Edmonton Oilers fan, but here I am. And I mean, I know that our fans who are not Oilers fans love Bob, which how could you not? So, I mean, maybe he gets that out of it.
Yeah, I mean, going global, going international, non-Oilers fans should absolutely know Bob and Gene and Jack and Louie. We're not into it. We could be into it just because of an Oilers bias. That, I guess, is a possibility, but we're so excited about their broadcast because it is so exciting and it's so good. Did you hear the Louis' call of the end of the game?
No.
Game 5. Very matter of fact about the Tkachuk save. Very whatever. He swipes it out. Who cares? Fucking loser. He's about to. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, fucking empty net goal. That's what I thought. Amazing though. He's yelling the whole time, extremely overmodulated because it had to have been crazy loud in there. And he says, "There will be." I was waiting for it, and then he says, "A game 6," and I was like, "Still, there will be." I know what you're doing. We all know what you were doing there, Jack. What a legend. And then Emily was fantastic. She'll be back for sure. Chris Johnston, always amazing with us. Thanks to everybody who joined us today. And as Pete said, thanks to all the subscribers. We will talk to you tomorrow because it's a big day. We'll have Game 6 and then the live stream at night. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.
We all silly like the mayor.